He was a comet flashing across the basketball heavens.
The rise, the fall, and the redemption of the man who should have been a legend. Find out whatever happened to Michael Ray tonight after the NBA on TNT.
He was a comet flashing across the basketball heavens.
The rise, the fall, and the redemption of the man who should have been a legend. Find out whatever happened to Michael Ray, coming up next on TNT.
Now listen to me. All the people you ever heard of freebasing, have you ever heard of anybody blowing up? Why me? 10 million mother freebase, I gotta blow up.
Late 70s, early 80s. What do you remember? Richard Pryor? Drugs? What else?
It's a weird disease. If any of you people out there doing it, I know you ain't gonna believe this, but if you've been doing it longer than 2 weeks, you're a junkie. I'm telling you, and now I'm telling you so you'll know it.
It was after Star Wars and before the drug wars. And if you were growing up around New York City, you either thought you were gonna be the next Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor, or that you'd end up playing for the New York Knicks.
Oh, what a shot!
There was nothing better than going to the games. The A train went straight to Madison Square Garden. That's when I first saw Michael Ray.
Out here in the field.
They called him Sugar, Sugar Ray. I like the name. People used to say he was gonna be better than Magic.
What a shot by Sugar!
They said he was into everything that was going on then. All I knew is that he had this look on his face. You couldn't tell if he was amused by it all or just lost. I still think he was one of the most exciting players I've ever seen. But that's not the point. Not the whole point.
I don't need to be forgiven. Sugar stole it. Look at this. The Knicks win. And this place is gone bananas.
When he started getting into trouble, I used to buy all the newspapers to try to find out what was going on. It was one of those stories that I just couldn't get out of my head. That brings you back to a time, catches something about it. I always wanted to know, how would it end? '78 wasn't the best time for New York. Back then, it was like the whole city was depressed. Even the Knicks stank. The fans were still dreaming about the Knicks championship teams that had Willis Reed and Walt Frazier. Now Willis was the coach, and he was telling people he had found a guy who was going to be the next Walt Frazier. Then comes the draft, and he picks Michael Ray Richardson. Everyone said the same thing. Michael Ray who?
If Willis thought that he was going to be the next Frazier, nobody else did. Nobody had ever heard of him.
It wasn't just about basketball. If you were going to be a star in New York, you had to look the part. It was the parties, the cars, the clothes. Clyde was perfect.
And they thought Clyde had every girl, man. You know, they wanted to be like me, driving around in the car, dressing up. So that was the perception, that I was just this guy that had it all, man. I could do anything.
Then along came Michael Ray. He had this big press conference, and everyone was just waiting to get a look at him.
So we're sitting in the audience, and we're thinking, the next Walt Frazier is about to come out and address us. And all of a sudden, out walks Michael Ray, and the first question is, why do they call you Sugar? And the next 15 seconds were probably the most uncomfortable things I've ever experienced in sports writing. He just stood there for 15 seconds, and of course he had the terrible stuttering problem, and stuttered and stuttered and stuttered, and finally blurted out, because I'm sweet on the court. And we're all sitting there a little stunned, because again, we were thinking Walt Frazier, and all of a sudden you had this kid who could barely articulate a sentence.
Right from the start, the newspaper guys went nuts. Then Michael didn't play well, and the feeding frenzy was on.
Michael Ray, Mr. Jam.
I remember going to the first game, and it was horrible. I mean, people were throwing stuff on the court. They were throwing eggs, whatever they could find, at him on the court. And I thought, what is going on here?
14 games into the season, Willis got fired.
I think it hurt Michael Ray Richardson when Willis Reed was no longer the coach, because Willis was this guy that had nurtured him, that had brought him in, and now Willis was gone.
Red Holtzman replaced Willis. He had coached the real Walt Frazier, helped the Knicks win 2 championships, but he was an old school coach, and he didn't play rookies. Michael went right to the press.
He starts to tell us, like, this old man, he don't know what talent is, and he doesn't want to play me, and I'm getting out of here. Then tomorrow I'm going to call my agent, and I'm going to demand a trade. And I turn around, and there up against the wall, with his arms folded, is Red. And as I walk past, Red gives me that famous sarcastic smile of his, and he says, "That kid thinks you're going to help him."
When Michael went home to Denver that summer, I figured he might as well stay there. But he surprised me. Michael was good at surprises.
He played every day. He worked out every day. I'd never seen him so focused like that in my life. He just, knew that he was going to go back that next year and show them what he could do. And sure enough, the next year when he went back, that was it.
Moncrief with 5 seconds to shoot. Sugar stolen. What a steal by Sugar. What a big play. Sly got it to Sugar now. Moncrief on Sugar. What a move. What a pass.
Now people are starting to notice this guy. He's this explosive 6'5" point guard making crazy plays. Even the newspapers started to say good things.
My goodness, he could really burn it up. I mean, he end-to-end stuff that nobody had really seen.
Sugar with Moncrief in the lane. Oh, what a shot! Sugar stole it. Look at this. The Knicks lead. 13-point Knick lead with 3:18 to play. Intercepted by Michael Ray. What an intercept. To the basket. And he beat Byrne. And this place is going crazy.
All of a sudden, New York fans started to like Sugar Ray now. The scoreboard said, "Sugar, sugar, sugar."
That was the season, 79-80, when Larry Bird and Magic Johnson came into the league. But it was Michael who led the NBA in steals and assists, and he started to get national attention, too.
Like, I started playing when I was about 13 years old, and, I was out there, day in and, day out, so it takes a lot of work, and I just say, if you want to get into the pros, you have to go out every day and play. If it rains through the snow, just go play.
Michael loved this stuff. I mean, he loved the attention. He wanted very much to please people. He wanted to perform for them, and he did.
Ray Williams, quick hand, 3-on-1 on the break. Richardson goes up, he's got it!
Michael Ray was a guy who played just like I played. Every time I saw him, he went right at me.
Michael Ray Richardson.
And Michael would always talk trash to the whole game.
Isaiah Thomas, to this day, tells me that the one guy he was scared of was Richardson. He said Richardson owned him.
Well, he was the sugar man. He was Sugar Ray. I mean, he was sweet. No moment or no stage was too big for him.
Michael Ray in the backcourt. 3 seconds. 2. Michael Ray puts it up. It'll count if it goes. It does! A 3-point play! And it's all over! And the Knicks win by 1!
Now the fact that Michael was this wide-open, unsophisticated guy made him more popular.
He was a sweet kid. You could just look in his eyes and you could see a sweetheart.
Such an effervescent character. He lit up a room. He was a wild and crazy guy in a very positive, lovable way.
And now Michael's life was only getting wilder and crazier.
I was like a little small, country boy. Then when I did, get here, I was, wondering how to, adjust. It was like people here, never sleep.
Sugar Ray would wake up sometimes 1, 2 o'clock at night and say, Stinger, wake up. I can't sleep, man. Let's go out. I think they're having a good party. Let's go to the city.
We would go to Madison Square Garden, after the games and stuff, we'd walk out, there'd be women everywhere, just like vultures.
Restaurants, nightclubs, he got in everywhere free. Everybody knew him, and he became the guy to hang with. Sugar was beginning to be a star in New York City, and there was no place better in this country to be a star than New York City.
Suddenly, everyone wanted a piece of Michael, and he wasn't the type to say no.
Michael was someone you could recruit and continue to recruit by whispering in his ear and saying, "Hey, Michael, I'll get you this, I'll get you that." Agents did it, shoe companies did it, I mean, Michael Richardson at one point signed 2, 3, 4 contracts with shoe companies.
He'd have 2 sneaker contracts at the same time.
He was wearing Nikes and he was wearing ponies, and both of them were paying him.
He was redundant. He had 1, 2, 3 of everything.
Magic Johnson led the Los Angeles Lakers to a championship that year, and I didn't see any reason why Michael couldn't do the same for the Knicks. But looking back, there was always something about Michael that I didn't see.
He had a twinkle in his eye and he had the devil in his eye at the same time. And sometimes one didn't know what the other was going to do.
This TNT special presentation, Whatever Happened to Michael Ray, is brought to you by Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
This might be a good time to talk about the Michelin X1. Thanks to Michelin technology, it gives you long mileage and better wet braking than any rain tire. And that should make everyone on a wet road happy.
How about BobTheBugKiller.com? Yeah, whatever, Bob. XLiveBugs.com. Okay, that doesn't even make sense. WebAmadropADeadBug.com. Shouldn't have had that third cup of coffee.com.
We've made it easy to get your web address registered. Your only challenge is deciding on the perfect name.
TheBugReaper.com. That's brilliant. I'm the man.
To get your web address registered, call Network Solutions at 1-800-4.com or visit us online.
When you coach the junior gymnastics team, you do most of the exercise, so muscle aches are out of the question. That's why I take Advil every time. This is a very safe sport, as long as I can keep up. So I trust Advil. Absolutely nothing's been proven stronger in even tough pain. These kids depend on me, and I depend on Advil.
Advil, stronger than pain. And for kids, nothing relieves fevers faster than children's Advil.
Today we're talking about the spirit of brotherhood. So you're helping your brother expand a small business.
Yeah, he called last week. He needed money to hire a new accountant.
You sent the money with Western Union.
Yep. Next, he needed money for his accountant's new computer.
And he got that.
No problem, but then I sent him money for his accountant's new desk.
He didn't get it?
He got the money all right, except that he used it to buy an engagement ring.
Engagement ring?
Well, you should see his accountant.
Hey, it's your money. Use Western Union, the fastest way to send money worldwide.
You're sweating like crazy. You got TV cameras all over you. The last thing you want is this white clumpy thing running down your arm. It's just rude.
We asked some of the hottest pros under the sun to switch antiperspirants.
Degree Invisible Solid? What's that?
I would assume it goes on clear, but I'm not sure I believe that.
When your body heats up, Degree Invisible Solid releases extra protection with a clear difference.
Right there. See, there's no white stuff. The harder I work, the harder it works.
No flaking, no funk, no Klingons.
Degree Invisible Solid. Works hard but never shows.
After the match, there's a ton of girls. Gotta be cool.
We now return to Whatever Happened to Michael Ray on TNT. The 1981 season was Michael Ray's third, and he was just getting better. He was an all-star again and led the Knicks to the playoffs. They were supposed to do something that year, but they played a tough old Chicago Bulls team in the first round and got swept. So management went right out and traded for some veterans. The problem was they got rid of Ray Williams and Mike Glenn, Michael's two best friends.
Sugar was the kind of player that after the game, he kind of wanted you to tell him that he had done a good job. And Sugar would ask me, Stinger, did you see me do this? Or how was that? Did we take him out? Did I do this? And now he didn't have anybody that really cared about him, he felt.
Michael needed new friends, and he did his looking at night. The problem was his new soulmates didn't always have his best interests at heart.
He was so insecure that you could see that he was being influenced by people hanging around him. Hey, Michael, you're not making enough. You made the All-Star team last year. You led the league in this, you led the league in that. You got to get more money. So, yeah, you're right. He'd agree with any. Yeah, you're right.
Michael's wife, Renee, had moved home to Denver, and his partying started to take on a life of its own.
Oh, you hear things. You hear guys out here, he's out there. With Michael, though, it was just trying to keep him under control from day to day so he could go out on the floor and do his thing.
Times had gotten better. Money was flowing, drugs were everywhere, and so was Michael. Did he actually start doing coke at that time? He claimed he didn't. Either way, he was living the life.
I heard so many stories. Friends that I had in New York said, Mike, your boy Sugar's doing some bad things, man. A lot of bad things are happening to him.
Michael was starting to push it pretty hard at both ends.
Richardson, no concentration at all on that shot. That's it, Sugar. Another costly turnover. Michael Ray missed the jam. I'm telling you, he is snake bit. That rim's doing things to him.
The Knicks were losing. It was only a matter of time before something popped.
Richardson dribble drive down the middle, throws a horrible pass. He has really struggled this season, inexplicably.
Reporters were around that team watching the team go downhill for quite a while. At the end of this one game, they'd lost again, and he came into the locker room, and we went inside.
I was the one who asked the question about this team, and, you know, where is this team going? And I remember him looking at me and saying, the ship be sinking.
The ship be sinking. It became Michael's most famous quote. It wasn't good grammar, but it was true. And at the end of the season, Coach Red Holtzman was fired. Hubie Brown replaced him.
You know, everybody's thinking now that we can, win. Last year, you guys were down, but now we've got a lot of enthusiasm, and it's going to be great.
It sounded good, but Hubie was big on discipline.
We're not jogging, okay? We're playing.
And Michael had gotten hooked on a different lifestyle.
We had training camp down in South Jersey. We went at least 2 hours twice a day. I got to tell you, double days were tough. After double days, everybody else went back to the hotel. Michael Ray, gone.
No one was talking about Michael being the next Walt Frazier anymore. They were talking about him being traded.
I'm not a naive person, and I was never a naive coach. So stop telling me about all of this incredible talent, because the off-court demons never allowed him to play to his potential in a New York Knickerbocker uniform.
When he was finally shipped out to Golden State before the 1983 season, Michael was the only one who was surprised. He refused to go and went home to Denver. The Warriors sent their coach, Al Attles, to talk to him.
He seemed to be looking for that proverbial hug, and I was kind of the guy who did the hugging.
Golden State even renegotiated Michael's contract to show how much they wanted him.
I had a little financially, problems, and I got all, worked out now. So, I'm happy to, be here, and they're happy for me to be here.
But Michael couldn't seem to get over being dumped by the Knicks. He was lonely, and he dove into the San Francisco nightlife with a vengeance. Pretty soon, the Warriors had private detectives following him around.
Would leave the Coliseum parking lot burning rubber, speeding out of the lot well over 100 miles an hour. He went to neighborhoods that were not neighborhoods he should have been going to.
You didn't have to do a lot of detective work to figure out that now Michael had a real drug problem.
You don't show up to practices. You start yelling at the coaches. You get hyper. I mean, you had to be sleeping under a rock if you didn't know.
Just 3 months after Al Attles had flown to Denver, the Warriors tried to trade Michael to anyone who'd take him.
Al Attles said to us the whole Michael Ray Richardson thing, he called it a thing, was a mistake. He said he was a coach's nightmare.
I remember crying a lot and kind of talking to him on the phone, just saying, what's going on with you? What are you doing?
When he had trouble with the Knicks, Michael said the ship be sinking. Now he was going down with it.
An alien invitation, an eager scientist, and a journey you'll never forget. See Jodie Foster in the network television premiere of Contact. Sunday at 8 on TNT.
Michelin would like to remind you, there's only one safety feature on the road that actually touches the road. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
HoopsTV.com.
Is your dandruff sending the wrong signals? Get Selsun Power. Doctors recommend Selsun Blue. So don't send the wrong signals. Get Selsun Power.
At CompUSA, you'll always find more than 5,000 computing products. Virtually all the hardware, software, and accessories anyone could ever want. All right around the corner. Right now, get a CompUSA PC Home Series system featuring the Intel Pentium 3 processor for only $1199.99. CompUSA, the computer superstore.
Max hits at 8. The best we've got every night in February.
Hello.
Max hits at 8 in February.
Former Michigan legislator Paul Rosenbaum rallies together some of the sharpest minds in the state as they go face-to-face on the hottest social and political topics. Face-to-face, the truth is spoken here, only on Media One, Channel 25.
We now return to Whatever Happened to Michael Ray on TNT. By the time Golden State was trying to trade Michael Ray in the middle of the '83 season, there weren't a lot of coaches willing to gamble on him. So the last place I thought he'd end up was back in the New York area. But Larry Brown, the New Jersey Nets coach, had known Michael when he was growing up in Denver. He gave him a chance.
I think it's great. I'm looking forward. I know it's going to be a challenge, but I think I'm ready for it.
The question was it too late?
There was a big drop-off. Physically, he wasn't able to do the things he had done before.
The Nets had Tim Bassett, a former player, keep an eye on Michael.
I would see Michael at 7:30 in the morning, and he would say, I'm not going to practice. I'm going back to New York to buy more drugs. And I jump in the car because I said, Michael, you can't. And at some point in time, he would eventually get himself together and say, all right, I'll go.
Larry Brown realized he had to do something in a hurry.
I drove him to a clinic in New Jersey in his Volkswagen. And he told the doctor that he really didn't have a serious problem. He just was freebasing a couple of times a week. And I didn't have much of a response.
You can just see Larry Brown's jaw hitting the floor when he heard that. This wasn't the same kid he knew in Denver, the one with a close family who looked after his sisters when his father left.
Michael did try to be everyone's father. He always took care of his sisters, made sure that, nobody bothered us, made sure we was at home before dark.
One particular day, we were out on the football field under the dugout smoking weed, and I went back in the classroom, and he looked at my eyes, and he was like, oh, Anita, smoking weed is not the thing to do, and when I get home, I'm telling Mama. And that was enough for me. I didn't do it again.
Michael had 6 brothers and sisters, but he was the man of the house. He was his mother's favorite.
I worked day and night, and I would come home, and I was, oh, I'm so tired. I said, oh, my feet is killing me. So he would come, he would sit on the floor, he would get the lotion, and he would just rub my feet. Rub my feet. Mama, you all right? Mama, you all right?
She was saying, oh, my legs hurt, I'm tired of working. He used to always say, when I get a lot of money, you don't have to work. I'm gonna buy you a house, and your feet is not gonna hurt anymore.
The way he thought he was going to make that money was playing in the NBA, but he was the only one who thought so.
I was always taller than he was, and he couldn't beat me. It didn't eat him up, he just kept coming. He just kept coming, just kept coming, just kept coming.
He would wake us up in the morning, and he would tell us everything that happened in his dream. I can remember one time when he said that that he dunked over Dr. J. We were thinking, okay, buddy, keep dreaming, you know.
By the time he graduated from high school, he managed to get one scholarship offer. It was from the University of Montana, which was a whole different world from downtown Denver.
I said to Michael Ray, it's a small town. It's no blacks down there. He said, well, I'll be the first one. That's where I want to go.
Michael was so homesick, he drove 18 hours every other weekend to see his mother and his girlfriend, Renee. If it hadn't been for Coach Judd Heathcote, he probably wouldn't have lasted the year.
Judd Heathcote really carried him through a lot of this. You know, he bonded with him. He was able to talk to him a lot. He loved Judd Heathcote.
But after Michael's sophomore year, Judd announced that he was leaving to coach Magic Johnson at Michigan State.
I go home, and Michael's at my home. And he says, Coach, he says, what I heard on the radio, that's not true, is I said, Michael, it is true. And he says, well, Coach, you can't leave me because you've been like a father to me. And I said, Michael, I've been on you to go to class. I've been on you all the time. I said, that is not what a father does. And he said, Coach, you have to remember I don't have a father. And he started to cry.
Michael managed to rally. He'd married Renee, he worked hard at his game, and even better, he grew. By his senior year, he was an athletic 6'5" and a surprise first-round pick of the New York Knicks. The first thing he did was buy his mother a house.
He said, I told you that when I made pro, I was gonna buy you a house. He said, I kept my promise.
By the time Michael was in New Jersey, he still had a lot of mortgage payments to make, and freebasing cocaine wasn't helping. He was also getting a divorce from Renee. But Larry Brown taking him to the drug clinic seemed to do him good. But then, without warning, Brown left to coaching college.
He just bolted. I mean, unfortunately, Larry just bolted on Michael.
The Nets were swept in the playoffs by the Knicks, and Michael went off the deep end.
I got this call from my friend up in Harlem, and he said that Michael is at a crack house up here. His car is parked outside the crack house, and it's got the license plates, sugar on it.
There in the middle of a real dark street, he's sitting there by himself, and he's real nervous, and he's talking 100 miles an hour, stuttering, oh, I'm here, I'm waiting for someone. He gave us a story that he's there waiting for a girl, and he had a girl in the building. What's her name? I don't know. What building? I don't know.
On May 13th, 1983, the newspaper said that Michael checked into the Fair Oaks Rehab Center. Less than a month later, there was another story, that he had checked out, telling his friends that he was cured.
I'm driving down the road not far from my house, and I see a guy who looks familiar, and I'm across the street. I said, oh, it's Michael Ray. He said, Sugar, what are you doing? And he looked messed up, and he said, listen, I need to get home. So I dropped him off, and I'm driving away. I'm seeing these cop cars come flying down the street.
August 12th, Michael checked into the Hazelton Foundation Clinic in Minneapolis. Less than a month later, he was out, again saying he was cured.
I'd get a phone call, Michael left the rehab. I said, what do you mean he left the rehab? He left the rehab. I said, I thought he didn't have any money. He took a credit card, got on a plane, and came home.
September 28th, Michael called a press conference. What did he say? That's right. He claimed he was officially cured.
I'll be more under control, and I'll be here to start to finish.
Michael didn't even come close. He had barely said hello to new coach Stan Albeck in training camp when he disappeared.
We heard, he was in all parts of New Jersey. We heard that he was across the river in New York.
And the stories only got crazier.
A guy by the name of Lou Chappelle was the general manager, and he came to us and told us that somebody had Michael and they was holding him hostage, and he got on the phone and he said, hey, Lou, they're holding me.
Finally, it was discovered he was at the Southgate Hotel, which is diagonally across from the Garden. He had gotten a room there, and he had registered under the pseudonym Michael Ray Richardson. And then when somebody goes up to the room and went up to the room and said, hey, Michael, and Michael responds, how'd you find me?
In some ways, it was all pretty funny, but the Nets weren't laughing. They waved Michael. I felt bad that I'd never see him play again. I felt worse that he might end up living on the street.
The zero-pressure Michelin, so revolutionary it won't go flat, even with a puncture the size of a golf ball, letting you drive up to 50 miles at 55 miles per hour. Just what you'd expect from Michelin.
I tell friends I'm in the shipping business. Precious cargo. I can't afford to be distracted by a headache. That's why I take Advil every time. After all, I have to deliver these little packages without a scratch. So I trust Advil. Absolutely nothing's been proven stronger on even tough headaches. I never take chances. I take Advil.
Advil, stronger than pain. And for kids, nothing relieves fevers faster than children's Advil.
How about BobTheBugKiller.com? Yeah, whatever, Bob. xlivebugs.com. Okay, that doesn't even make sense. WebAmadropADeadBug.com. Shouldn't have had that third cup of coffee.com.
We've made it easy to get your web address registered. Your only challenge is deciding on the perfect name.
TheBugReaper.com. That's brilliant. I'm the man.
To get your web address registered, call Network Solutions at 1-800-4.com or visit us online.
31 days, 360 movies, every one an Academy Award winner or nominee. 31 Days of Oscar, all next month on Turner Classic Movies.
Life is a collection of moments.
Man's a thief.
A breath.
I'm not about to run from you.
A flash of brilliance.
Nominees are...
A blink of an eye. An instant that shows you're not alone.
Want to take a ride?
We're alive. It's a feeling. Live in the moment. All next month on TNT.
An unspeakable evil ravages the land. Only one person has the power to end the terror. Meet the Slayer.
Excuse much, rude or anything?
There's something going on around here.
Does the word duh mean anything to you?
The apparent cause of death was a severe neck wound that resembled a really gross hickey.
You're obviously having a bad hair day.
See the movie that spawned the television sensation, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Tomorrow night at 8 on TNT.
We now return to Whatever Happened to Michael Ray on TNT. Michael Ray wasn't just snorting cocaine, he was freebasing. It's what got Richard Pryor blown up, hooked John Belushi, and made a lot of addicts. And at that time, the NBA had its share.
How tiring is it to pick up a sports page and read yet another story about a $1 million kid throwing his career away because of drugs? How much time do we have to spend on wondering who's clean or who's next?
In 1983, the NBA and the players were making a tough new drug agreement. It was right around the same time that Michael got cut by the Nets. So in some ways, his timing couldn't have been worse. But he also got lucky. The new agreement said that you got 3 strikes before you were banned.
Our view was you can't waive somebody. The agreement is very specific. So the Nets, with a fair amount of behind-the-scenes urging by us, reinstated him.
Michael had another chance, and it must have felt like a presidential pardon. He went right into rehab, and even stayed this time.
It was very emotional, you know. I think he got very emotional, realizing that this is the only way you can sort of piece your life back together. You got to go in, and you got to spend some time there.
By December of '83, Michael was ready to play again. He couldn't wait to show everyone he was okay.
Because of the background and the things that happened, it was almost like he was a leper. But he felt very badly about what he had done, and he apologized to everybody in the organization.
There's going to be a lot of attention focused on him, and he can succeed marvelously or he can fall flat on his face, and that's only for him to decide.
When Michael first showed up, the Nets were shocked at what he couldn't do. When he came back this time, they were shocked at what he could do.
Daly, oh, what a play by Richardson. He picked Daly's pocket clear. Oh, like he never went away.
The legs are lively. He's still got the bounce. He's still got the talk.
Richardson. Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
He still feels he can beat anybody, and he does. It was an amazing thing.
Richardson. Oh, what a move. His feel for the game has not left. Here's Sugar Ray, look out. 2 seconds. Richardson. Oh, absolutely marvelous.
It's the best that I've been playing since I've been in the league. You know, Stan has a lot of confidence in me, and he just tells me, Sugar, just go out there and play.
Suddenly, it was like Michael had picked up where he'd left off with the Knicks.
Got it! At the buzzer, the Nets win!
He not only won over his teammates, he became the Nets' leader.
Bill Garnett took me out here at a game once. I was driving the lane, and he just hooked me, and I went like flying into the thing that holds the basket up. And my man Michael Ray did the same thing to him.
Richardson is livid.
People who don't know Sugar don't realize that he'll do anything for you, and he's just a super guy, and it's really good to see him playing the way he is.
Michael took the Nets to the playoffs that season, and they were up against the defending champion Philadelphia 76ers in the first round. No one gave them a chance. Philly had Julius Erving and all these other great players. The Nets had Michael Ray.
Here's Richardson. Whoa, what a move.
There's one guy, Michael Ray, that's really... Bad pass by Irving, intercepted by Michael Ray.
He's doing everything tonight. Terrific.
He dominated the series. He just took over like, you know, the great ones do.
On that one, but Buck Williams throws it up no good, and Michael Ray Richardson taps it in.
Well, that was an incredible effort by Richardson.
For that series, he was like Michael Jordan. He just would not let us lose.
Sugar Ray there to pick it up, and he takes an off-balance try and sticks it in. Look out, what a sequence for Sugar Ray.
When he was a kid, Michael dreamed about dunking on Dr. J. Now it was like all his dreams were coming true.
This is going to be the greatest win in the history of New Jersey net basketball.
That was beautiful. That was the greatest thing that ever happened in a long time.
They're going wild. It's like they won the national title.
Michael Ray Richardson just had a tremendous basketball game, and no one is happier than those people in that locker room because of his past problems, but he has those whipped.
Now Michael started to get the kind of attention he had gotten with the Knicks.
Sugar, people are comparing you to Magic now. How does that make you feel?
That makes me feel real, real good. You know, I'm just fortunate to get the chance to, play again, and I'm going to make the best of it.
The next season, 1985, Michael made the All-Star team. He was the comeback player of the year. He even took part in an anti-drug video.
Michael said that if I can help other players in the league not deal with those same issues that I dealt with, I'd be happy to help.
Everybody was counting me, out. Now it's the other way around now. Everybody's counting me in.
Before the 1986 season, Coach Stan Albeck left, but Michael seemed fine. He had a new wife, a new baby, and a new $3 million contract. Things couldn't have been better.
I'll tell you who's putting on the show. Forget Jordan, it's Richardson. He sure is.
He was finally becoming the superstar I always knew he would. At least that's what I thought.
I remember we had our team Christmas party, and I said to him as we left, I said, I'm really proud of you. I said, you're the reason we are where we are. I said, you're playing as well as any guard in the entire league. And we just kind of hugged, and he left.
I was going over to the Hasbrook Heights Sheraton to have a few drinks. Sugar, Bobby Caddis, myself, the girl I was talking to. So I'm over there, I'm trying to get my groove on with the girl. I go home, the next day I come to practice. Where's Sugar?
He was not at today's shoot-around and did not place any calls to the Nets, so the Nets really not know of his whereabouts right now, and, we hope everything's all right for Michael Ray Richardson.
It happened that quickly. Michael showed up after 3 days and went right into rehab. As far as the league's drug agreement went, it was strike 2 and counting. On February 25th, less than 2 months later, the Nets were coming back from a road trip, and NBA security was waiting.
When he saw me, our eyes met, and he continued to focus on me, and he walked right up to me and says, "Is there anything wrong?" And I said, "You know what's wrong?"
He had failed a drug test. It was strike 3. Most great players end their careers with big retirement ceremonies. Michael's ended in an airport.
Michael Ray Richardson is permanently disqualified from playing basketball in the National Basketball Association. It sounds great on paper, and it sounds great when you're going around getting accolades about a wonderful drug policy. But when a young man faces the ruin of his career and probably his life, I was thinking that this wasn't such a good thing. Probably the worst thing I ever had to do as commissioner. What we have seen here is nothing less than the destruction by cocaine of a once flourishing career.
Thursday night on TNT. See how a moment in history forced one father and son apart and changed the world forever. From the writer-director of Field of Dreams.
Can't do that, hand boy. Bob.
One heaven.
You think you invented anger? There's nothing you feeling I ain't felt times 10.
Hallowed be thy name. Why not let me learn on my own?
Danny Glover, Freedom Song. See the encore Thursday night at 8, only on TNT.
Michelin would like to remind you, there's only one safety feature on the road that actually touches the road. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
You're sweating like crazy.
You got TV cameras all over you.
The last thing you want is this white clumpy thing running down your arm.
It's just rude.
We asked some of the hottest pros under the sun to switch antiperspirants.
Degree Invisible Solid? What's that?
I would assume it goes on clear, but I'm not sure I believe that.
When your body heats up, Degree Invisible Solid releases extra protection with a clear difference.
Right there. See, there's no white stuff. The harder I work, the harder it works.
No flaking, no funk, no Klingons.
Degree Invisible Solid. Works hard but never shows.
After the match, there's a ton of girls. Gotta be cool.
How about BobTheBugKiller.com? Yeah, whatever, Bob. XLiveBugs.com. Okay, that doesn't even make sense. Whammalama-dropping-deadbug.com. Shouldn't have had that third cup of coffee.com.
We've made it easy to get your web address registered. Your only challenge is deciding on the perfect name.
TheBugReaper.com. That's brilliant. I'm the man.
To get your web address registered, call Network Solutions at 1-800.com or visit us online.
Is your dandruff sending the wrong signals? Get Selsun Power. Doctors recommend Selsun Blue. So don't send the wrong signals. Get Selsun Power.
I tell friends I'm in the shipping business. Precious cargo. I can't afford to be distracted by a headache. That's why I take Advil every time. After all, I have to deliver these little packages without a scratch. So I trust Advil. Absolutely nothing's been proven stronger on even tough headaches. I never take chances. I take Advil.
Advil, stronger than pain. And for kids, nothing relieves fevers faster than children's Advil.
We now return to Whatever Happened to Michael Ray on TNT. When Michael Ray got banned from the NBA in 1986, it was pretty big news. Everybody wanted to talk about how badly he'd screwed up.
Why should we care about another superstar junkie? Someone taller and richer than most of us who dribbled away his dream.
The thing I kept thinking about was, why?
Michael Ray never really understood the stakes. Sugar cared about things for the moment. What mattered to him was how he was going to do in today's game and whether people loved him.
Or maybe it was simpler than that.
Michael told me once, if you put all the money in the world right next to him, and you put the drugs on the table right next to him, he'd never notice the money.
Michael was probably trying to figure it all out, too.
When it finally became clear to him that he was out of the NBA for the rest of his life, that the despair of what all of that meant finally hit him.
He ended up playing in the CBA and the USBL, minor leagues.
It's just something inside of me that I know that I got to do, or else I can't live with myself for the rest of my life. Because I know I can still play, and I still want to play. I'm not gonna let nothing stop me from playing.
Michael had one hope. If he could survive 2 years and stay clean, the drug agreement said he could apply to get back in the NBA.
One night he was out in a nightclub and Michael Ray heard that there was drugs in the place. One of the players said he took off out the back door and just took off running down the street.
I have like real big fantasies, you know. I think about it sometime, and if I just show them that I can still play and I've taken care of my personal life, I shouldn't have a problem.
But the NBA was moving on. Players like Bird and Magic and now Michael Jordan were becoming international celebrities. And every game against no-name players in no-name towns crushed Michael's hopes a little bit more.
Boy, if I had the talent that Michael had, and I didn't get to where I should have gotten, that would kill me every day of my life.
When Michael was drafted by the Knicks, he had bought his mother a house. Now the bank came and took it.
When they foreclosed, they came out at nighttime and they put the paper on my door. We had 30 days to get out. Michael Ray never said, "Mom, I'm sorry." That hurt. That really hurt.
It wasn't just about drugs anymore. It was his whole life. His second marriage was breaking up. Even Renee and his daughter, Tasha, couldn't reach him.
I remember telling my dad once just to stop and that I didn't want him to do it anymore. I think he knew that it hurt everybody because people would always be crying, but I think he was like such in the mind state that, I mean, there wasn't really any stopping him.
I had many reports of him selling his jewelry, what was left of it, for cocaine use. Michael would visit my apartment building wanting to come in to borrow money. Michael Ray didn't have socks on, and it was cold outside. So it was apparent that he was getting close to base zero.
My mom and I got on an airplane to go out there to find out what in the world is going on. And the police had found him sitting in his car parked. They thought he was suicidal.
I saw him and I broke down. He was so skinny. I said, "Michael, baby, you're killing yourself." I said, "You're killing your mama, too." So we went to this courthouse, and I talked to this judge. I said, "I'm his mother, and all I'm asking you to do is please, would you please lock him up? Because he need help." He said, "I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put him away for 21 days. They took him away. They had him handcuffed, and he was looking like that out the window. He looked just like a lost child.
They never did lock Michael up. He claimed he was ready for rehab. Then he just disappeared. I remember reading articles about him at the time. They all read like obituaries.
He was a comet flashing across the basketball heavens. He was there and he was gone.
Coming up, a high school basketball star must choose between college and crime. Take It Above the Rim with Marlon Wayans and Tupac Shakur. Next on TNT.
This TNT special presentation, Whatever Happened to Michael Ray, is brought to you by Western Union Money Transfer, the fastest way to send money worldwide.
College, it's a big financial commitment. Scott, you have a loved one in college.
You bet. I'm really proud of her. Just got her grades.
And do you send her money?
Oh, yeah. Books, tuition, it never stops.
And you use Western Union?
Of course. If I didn't, she'd put me over her knee.
Let's meet this feisty co-ed. Scott's mom.
Mom. Son, I'll be coming home this weekend.
She misses me.
Child, I'm just dropping off my laundry.
Hey, it's your money. Use Western Union, the fastest way to send money worldwide.
ScoopsTV.com.
You guys! You didn't! You did! And guess what? We got you!
Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
Thank you.
To Detroit by year-end.
I didn't know I could get digital phone service. Media One Roadrunner. 50 times faster connection to the internet? I didn't know that. Wrestling, all right. Pay-per-view concerts at the end of the month and hoops. Media One gave computers to schools? Now that's cool. Media One local programming, high school sports, Whalers hockey? I didn't know that.
Get to know your broadband company by watching In Tune, only on Media One.
My hero? Isaiah Thomas. Kevin Costner. Mr. Wong.
These are teachers, but to the kids they've reached, they're heroes.
My hero? Mrs. Wooten. If I don't get through to that child, who knows, maybe no one else will.
Teachers have the power to wake up young minds, to be heroes, to make a difference. Reach for that power. Teach. Find out how by calling 1-800-45-TEACH. Be a teacher. Be a hero.
We now return with the conclusion of whatever happened to Michael Ray on TNT. By 1988, Michael Ray was as bad off as he'd ever been. He was only a few months away from finding out if he was going to be let back into the NBA. But it must have seemed like forever. Then he got an offer from a team in Bologna, Italy. I guess he didn't have much choice. At first, he was doing great. He won an Italian championship.
Michael Ray Richardson, 40 anni.
Then there was a story that he'd failed a drug test. He said it was because of Novocaine at the dentist. But who knows what really happened? Then he was in Yugoslavia. Then back in Italy. Then the south of France. It was like he never stopped moving. I kept waiting for articles saying that he'd been caught with drugs again, or worse. Then I lost track of them altogether. I guess I finally gave up hope in 1997. The Bulls were in Paris playing all the top European teams, and I was watching Jordan just getting mobbed by reporters. I really started thinking about how Michael Ray would have handled it all. And then it hit me. I'd never know. I figured he would have been 42 by then. Too old to be playing anyway. But I was wrong. There he was, like the ghost of NBA past.
I was standing courtside, and Michael walks up and says hi, and gave me a big hug. I gave him a big hug. And he said to me, I want to thank you.
I'm sure in his mind, when he first saw me, he probably was going to think that I was angry at him. But I wanted to explain to him that he probably helped save my life.
Not only was Michael alive, he was still playing. And he still is, just outside Bologna. It's a second-tier league, but he seems pretty happy.
-5, I'll take that. It makes me feel young again, being, 44 years old, still playing basketball, playing with the, guys that could be my kids.
I kept trying to figure out what had changed. What kind of peace had Michael come to?
As long as you're doing drugs, you really can't really feel or know what you have lost. And I lost the thing that I loved the most, and that was playing basketball. Life gave me a chance over and over and over and over and over. And I guess I just took it to the limit. But you really can't have life figured out. You just take each step as it comes and hope that you make the right choices. I don't want to make any more bad choices. I've made enough bad choices in my life.
Michael was a star when he first came to Italy, and fans still chant sugar like he was in his prime.
Come on, baby, let's go get this game, man. Go, baby, go. Pride, baby, let's go.
I've changed my life outside of basketball, but I still play the basketball game the same. When I'm between those two white lines, I mean, I want to win.
Go slow. Walk the ball, walk. Mama, Liam.
I say this all the time, every day. I say to these guys, man, when I was young, you guys wouldn't have a chance. I remember when we played against the LA Lakers, and this was Magic's first year, and he came out with like a lot of hype. And our first meeting, I caught him on like a fast break, and it was just he and I just blew by him. And I remember him saying to me, man, you are quick, man. I think I could have been as good as Magic, or maybe even better. But it's something that I'll never know.
Michael plans to keep playing. Maybe he's scared to stop, or maybe he just loves it that much. Michael also has a new family, and he talks about it all like he's finally found what he's looking for.
Looking back on not having a father, maybe I missed out. I think a young boy, he needs a father in his life, so he can teach him how to be a man. I'm sure when Kimberly gets a certain age, I'll explain to her my history and my background, all of my good times and all of my bad times. She will love me the same.
Richardson.
As a kid, I dreamed of being in the NBA, driving the big fancy cars, being around all the people. And once I reached that goal, I was lost. Now I can wake up every day and look in the mirror and say, this who Michael Ray really is.
So what is Michael gonna do when he finally stops playing? He talks about a lot of things. One thing he never talks about is coming home.
I don't think I could ever live in America again. I don't think so. I'm 100% European now. About 6 or 7 years ago, I dreamed that I was still smoking, and I woke up into a cold sweat. So I called a couple of friends that had been clean for like 5 or 6 years, and they said to me that it was normal. I don't have any more dreams now, only good dreams. There's not really much more. I think after dealing with my history and overcoming that, all I have to do now is just live a normal life every day. And that's my achievement.
I'm happy for Michael. It's all so perfect. It's only sometimes that I start to think that it all seemed perfect before. It's funny. I always wondered how Michael's story would end. I'm still not sure I know.
Coming up next, see a movie about 3 brothers and the one thing that kept them together. Take it to the court with Tupac Shakur and Marlon Wayans in Above the Rim, next on TNT.